Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County Adam H., Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.
Hello friends, and welcome to Fairfield Today. I'm Paul Jason, and at this point I'd normally say we are in the beautiful confines of Fairfield Federal. Well, today, no. We're on the road today, one of the really few road trips we take in the course of a year. We're always at Fairfield Federal, but today is a very special show. We are in downtown Lancaster, more specifically 137 West Main Street. That may not mean much to everybody. To me, as a kid here in town, I remember this location where we are today as the Lyric Theater. It became continued to be a movie theater over the years, a gym, and it sat empty, and then it became a finance company, which was Fairfield Federal and Fairfield National and Park National Bank, which are behind us on the other side. But it kind of evolved into many things, but it's an amazing story how today is the home of Gay Fad Studios, a remarkable story about a remarkable woman, Fran Taylor, who in 1945 moved to Lancaster, started this business, and it's really an amazing story. So we're going to tell it all today, and we've got all the folks that are able to tell us that story with us. All the principals are here today. We'll begin with David Annecy. David, welcome.
Paul, thank you for being here. Yes.
One of the owners of this fabulous place, which we'll be showing pictures and talking about this, but 1945, we go back a few years, that is even pre-me, that's how long ago it is, so 77 years ago or something like that. Fran Taylor, a younger woman, begins in Detroit, Michigan, moves to Lancaster, Ohio, of all places. A wise move on her part. I would always leave Detroit to come to Lancaster. Not a problem for me either. But back in 1945, for a woman to begin a company, you're post-depression, post-war, you're coming out, everything's kind of on a roll again. I guess she has this vision to not make glassware, but to decorate glassware, and specifically in the way she sees it to be done. She opens up a studio over on Pierce Avenue near Plant 1, Anchor Hocking, just 4 or 5 miles from where we're seated right now on West Main Street. And the game begins. She is, and I would say in your mind, David Annecy is one of the owners of this beautiful studio, a truly remarkable woman.
She is, yeah. And Fran is the reason that we're here today. And that we decided that we wanted to pay homage to her legacy and really just bring the history of glassware decoration back to the present day and back to Lancaster, Ohio. And, Fran really, truly was an amazing person. When you think that women first had the right to vote in the early 1920s, and in 1939, at the age of 24, Fran decided to start Gay Fad Studios in Detroit, Michigan. And she had just gotten out of art school. She was trying to figure out what she wanted to do with her life, and she decided that she was going to start decorating metal waste paper baskets. So she used $30 of her own money, purchased about 40 waste paper baskets, and started painting these really beautiful hand-painted floral designs on those and sold them to department stores. And it just took off. She started hiring friends to help her paint out of her house and her garage. They, over the years, transitioned from metal waste paper baskets to plastic wares like bread containers, kitchen and bathroom doilies, and then ultimately when World War II started and metal was in short supply, she decided to transition to glassware because it was much cheaper and it was readily available. So for the next couple of years, she painted on glassware and then decided in 1945 she really needed to be closer to a glassware producer. So she traveled across the state of Ohio, visited many different towns, and ended up really just liking Lancaster itself because of what was here and how the community was. So she ended up purchasing a plot of land right across from Plant 1 at 221 Pierce Avenue, and she herself designed that studio because she couldn't afford to hire an architect. So she lived in an apartment next door, designed the studio, and helped manage the build of that, and had it up and running in about 6 months. And in 1946, they put out their first collection of wares through Gay Fad Studios in Lancaster, Ohio.
Yeah, well, it's amazing that even now, if that were to happen today, it would be amazing that a woman would start a business, become the boss, and just everything about it hers. But in 39, 45, 46, when she came to Lancaster, to do that was, I think it just says a lot about her. Truly a Renaissance woman, way ahead of her time.
She completely was, because at that point she had already been married to Red Byrne, was her first husband. And despite being married at that time, she kept the business in her name, she kept the property in her name, and the incorporation in her name. And she truly was the CEO and managed that company throughout all of those years. So it was very untraditional. Fran kind of bucked many of the norms at that time and really kind of blazed a path for women in that industry, and was really just so far ahead of her time.
What is it about the Gay Fad design, the Gay Fad things that she did that made it so remarkable and turned it into such a great company? I know we'll see examples of it all around here, and again, we'll be showing pictures the whole show, but it's very distinctive what she did.
Yes. So one of the really interesting things is that Fran actually patented one of the first processes of using ceramic paints to decorate glassware. And really what that was finely ground glass that was within that pigment, and as it was painted on and refired in a kiln, that became permanently adhered to the glassware. So for painted glass, having permanency, it created a whole new opportunity of having high quality and high durable decorated glassware that you could wash and it wouldn't flake or peel or chip or fade. And so that was the first real achievement that she had, was having permanency of her designs. And then on top of that, she employed about 25 women who were hand painting and decorating glassware. And right behind you is a really great picture of some of those women sitting in the studio at 221 Pierce Avenue. And they just really had a detail, an eye for detail of the design. So they were beautifully executed. They were extremely creative. Fran really, as an artist herself, valued creative self-expression. And she really wanted to foster that in her artists and in her employees, to say, if there's a different way that you want to try this, if there's a different design that you'd like to produce, I want to encourage you to do that. And so they really had so much variety of designs that they put out at that time, and really started to gain recognition for a lot of their branding, their advertising, their designs, and also the quality of the product that they were putting out at that time.
And again, we have a picture of those artists, how that looked in that studio then. But as I understand it, although it began, go figure, on Pierce Avenue, not the place even in Lancaster you'd think of such a successful company, but this became a worldwide, maybe even multi-million-dollar company in the 40s and 50s.
Yes, especially in the 50s, saw the height of the company. They had about 25 national sales representatives, because they were a wholesale business model. They would buy blank glass from producers, and then they'd redecorate it and sell it to other retail stores on a wholesale basis. So they had a showroom in Fifth Avenue, New York. They did all the circuits of shows across the U.S., and they even started creating unique glassware sets for the French market. The first of which was called Gaite, G-A-I-T-E, and they had about 9 different designs that they produced for the French market to purchase the Gay Fad designs.
This is David Annecy is with me, and he has been giving us just such a great history of how Gay Fad Studios, again, we're at 137 West Main Street in Lancaster, where the old Lyric Theater was, the new Gay Fad Studios, if you will, and we'll talk about that. But really the genesis of all this came from a mural that was outside the building right in front of us as we're sitting here speaking, right on the alley between us and Provisions, 4 Reasons, where that used to be right there. There's this beautiful mural there. The people that were behind all this were David Annecy, Jason Annecy, and Christa Moody. And we had a show here, it's been several months ago. We did it outside, right at the mural, talked about it and showed it all just after it was getting to open that Jason had done, and Christa had a project on that. And we've got the people here today. We just spoke with David, we've got Jason later, and we'll talk to Christa Moody in a moment about the mural and how all it began, because it's just amazing how all these pieces fell together to form what is now Gay Fad Studios in downtown Lancaster. So we'll be back on Fairfield Today in just a moment.
Can I visit my doctor online?
Our providers offer telehealth appointments that fit your schedule. allowing you to get the care you need when you need it. Whatever you're searching for, you can find it at Fairfield Medical Center. You walked down the aisle and promised happily ever after. Sometimes happily ever after means ending a relationship. We know the conversations are not easy. Deciding what's best for you, your children, and your next steps takes work and communication. At Dagger Law, we know there are no monsters in a divorce, only people trying to find their way. Local, trusted, experienced. Dagger Law.
The Frankie Smith Funeral Home and Crematory in Lancaster and the Johnson Smith Funeral Home in Baltimore have a long and wonderful history of serving our community. Feel free to give us a call at 740-653-0652. Stop in and see us at either of our two locations, 405 North Columbus Street in Lancaster and 207 South Main Street in Baltimore. Respect for tradition, regard for change.
Welcome back to Fairfield Today. Again, we're downtown Lancaster, 137 West Main Street, the old Lyric Theater, now the Gay Fad Studios, which opened a couple of months ago on Festival Night, Lancaster Festival Friday Night Art Walk. And this place was the place to be on Art Walk night. Everybody wanted to see this Gay Fad Studio. They've heard so much about it. It was happening, and the studio opened that night, and it was just crazy in here. And it's not this large a place. If you've been down here, you know, and if you haven't, I'd encourage you to come down here and see it. It's a remarkable place. But again, all this kind of came about from really a mural that's about 20 feet in front of us, or in front of me right now on the other side of the building, outside between us and Provisions in the alley. That a beautiful Gay Fad mural is on the walls out there, and that came about because of a project that a young lady here in town who we've had on the show a few times, and actually on that day we did a show out there at the mural and talked about it back in October. Christa Moody, welcome.
Thank you.
You are, I don't know if you'd be the grandmother, maybe the mother of this whole building right here, because it was your project that really planted the seed that through all kind of nice happenings, and maybe it was kismet, it was meant to be, but here we are today. Who'd have thought that your project on that mural would lead us here today? So your project was the mural. It's out there in the studio, and this was what, a Rotary project as president?
Yes. When my presidential year came up, one of my roles as president of the club was to choose a community project. My greatest hope when I became president was for my club and myself to make a difference in our community. Do something that's going to be big, but will leave a lasting impression in our community. Sherman Rotary had already made a footprint in the alley. We had the umbrellas for a time. We have tables and chairs out there for folks to enjoy dining and for a drink if they'd like. And so I wanted to accentuate on that. I wanted to do something bigger. I love murals. You know, my husband and I like to go to Circleville a lot, and they have some beautiful murals in Circleville, and so that's what kind of clicked. I was like, boy, if I could do a mural in Center Alley. So I went to my friend, Amanda Everett, who's head of Destination Downtown Lancaster, and told her my thought, and she loved it. So we put together a team of people, myself, Matt at Ale House, Laura Tussing on the other side of the alley, Keith Yates, who is a local historic painter here in Lancaster, and Jason. I had met Jason a few months before when he was working on the Veterans mural, and told him what my thought was and asked him if he would be interested, and he's like, yes. So we all met one evening downtown and asked Jason to bring us several ideas. And he had amazing ideas.
You had several.
We had 7 to choose from. Yes.
1, Gay Fad, 6, not Gay Fad.
6, not Gay Fad. The Gay Fad was the very last picture that he showed us. And when we all saw it, we immediately, that's it. That's what we want to do.
Again, it's just amazing that it becomes your project. You want to start something, you come up with the Gay Fad idea, and Amanda's on board with that. Destination Downtown is behind you. Your Rotary Club is behind you. It kind of gets going, and then it really got legs and got a life. We did the show. It's an amazing mural right there, but it became really a part of the fabric of downtown Lancaster.
It did. It was such an honor to bring back this part of Lancaster's history that was almost lost.
Yes.
Both of my parents worked at Anchor Hocking. We had Gay Fad glassware in our home. I didn't know it.
Well, as a kid, we wouldn't know it, but probably everyone did had something.
Absolutely.
Because you could buy it anywhere for a quarter. It was, this is glassware.
Exactly. Didn't know. We worked a lot with the Glass Museum during this whole process. The community just wrapped their arms around us and supported us 100%. And keep in mind, this is the height of COVID. This was when COVID was just getting going. There were times we would be painting with masks on. A lot of times we tried to paint separated. We were outdoors.
Now, what was the length of time from when it started till we did our thing down there? Was it a couple months?
We started actually painting in June, and we finished the day of 250 plates. I don't remember the exact date.
And as I remember when we did our show, you talked about people would be walking by there, they'd stop and look, and inquiries were beginning, and that was really the grassroots of all this.
Yes, the joy that those bright colors brought to the folks coming through there. And that's at a time when we needed joy. Everybody seemed to be confined to their homes, and so this was wonderful that we could bring that to the community. We had such fun creating that mural. Each time we painted, just a new adventure every day.
So, well, it was your project that really got this going, but then Gay Fad becomes the idea, the grassroots idea for doing all this, and then the fact that you chose Jason, and it could have been anybody. I mean, there were lots of people that do this, not as well as Jason, but lots of people that do this, but Jason was chosen, and that was another piece in this puzzle that leads us here.
Absolutely was. Having Jason on board was such a gift to us. There could not have been a painter that would have done, in my opinion, a better job than what he did. I am so honored to have him, he and David, as my friend for life now. I mean, we've made lifelong friends over this project, and what they have created here in this studio, it just warms my heart. So I am so thrilled and so proud of them for what they've created and brought back to Lancaster. I've watched the people come through here, and wow, the joy. I just keep saying that word, but that's the only word I can express how much this has brought to our community, the joy of it all.
And they talk about Fran's daughter got involved and was so pleased with all this coming about. People would come in here who worked for Fran and have a memory of that and decorating and all that. Yes. It was a whole total thing of the community.
Wonderful. There's a gal locally here. Her name's Pearline Riffett. And Pearline worked at Gay Fad, and I've had the pleasure of having conversations with her about when she worked at Gay Fad. She actually did not ever meet Fran. She worked at an office that was out on 33. But the stories that she shared with me were just wonderful. Fran was such a woman before her time, so it was so important to her that her staff be together. None of this separating out. Everybody works together. We're a team. She loved the teamwork.
Well, we started out with David Annecy talking about the history of Gay Fad. Christa Moody has joined us, talked about how it was brought back from the 40s and almost died out, and it's back now, and it's becoming big in a downtown location here in Lancaster. We're going to talk to the young man who is really the artist, Jason Annecy. Again, we had him on, I think, last October when we did our mural program outside with Christa. So we've got a little more story to tell to kind of bring us back to the current time with Jason Annecy. We'll be back with him in just a moment.
When I volunteer, when I come over here, first thing I think about is my dad. But then also think about all the people that helped us when we were here.
Something brings me here, and I feel that it's my dad's spirit. He wants us here. He wants us to give back because of what they did for him. And I think that's helped me with a lot of my grief.
Of the support of the people here and the volunteers. That makes it a great place.
Welcome back again to Fairfield Today on the Road. We are at 137 West Main Street in downtown Lancaster, the Gay Fad Studios, and we're talking everything from the beginning, bringing us back to this point, and the real moment that it kind of got legs and took off was when the mural was made just in front of us here in the alley, and the young man that did that was Jason Annecy. Jason, heck of a job, man. Be careful what you wish for, because you paint a mural and now you're in a business.
Yeah.
Go figure that.
Yeah. It. There really were just so many things fate-wise that led us to this point. If Christa had never come out and said, "Do you want to work on a mural?" If out of all the concepts, one wasn't in particular selected, that was Gay Fad. So many different things that happened. It would have never led to the point where we were so inspired that we decided we should bring the company back.
Yeah.
So
well, you've done murals, and I think maybe you were almost muraled out. You've done a lot. The one I recognize though is just over the hill on the other side of Main Street, down from the courthouse. There was the military one on the side of the Amstutz building, and you can really see it when you're heading west, because there's a big open parking lot there. You can look, or heading east, you can see it, and it's an amazing mural right there. Certainly that was beautiful. But then the one out here, and then you do that, and again, as Christa was talking about, people were stopping by every day, and it was kind of the buzz downtown. Downtown has really come back in the last few years, thanks to lots of things, DDL, lots of people, lots of individuals, lots of businesses. But during festival night, I don't know if you could got any more people. If the fire marshal would have been here, he might have shut the doors, because you were maxed out in here, I have no doubt.
Yeah, it was really incredible, and I've said this so many times, and I really mean it, that the community continues to inspire us. When we did the Veterans mural with Remo Design, we had seen that the community, they were honking horns, they were stopping by and talking to us. When we worked on the Gay Fad Studio murals, same thing. People were stopping, talking, they were asking questions. There was just so much joy that was expressed. And when we opened up Gay Fad Studios, now the company, we saw the same thing. And again, it really warms our heart, because we see through so many actions that the community takes, that they really just wrap their arms around you, and they want to see that you succeed. They want to really help and provide support in any given way, and we are so grateful for that.
And this sort of continues now, because now not only do you have Gay Fad Studios here where we're located today, but the future of nonprofits are going to be affected positively because of some things that are happening here. Again, just kismet, things that happen, fate.
Yeah, and that's really what makes it feel like quite a magical journey that we're on with this. We had this crazy notion of bringing back a company that closed 60 years ago, and gaining the support of Fran Taylor's daughter, working with Park Bank, so many different things along the way that led us to opening.
Dominoes all fall.
Yeah, and then it was actually the day after our opening that two homeowners over on Wheeling had actually come over and said, we really want you guys to be successful. How about we turn over our home so that you can have a Gay Fad event? And that just completely floored us, because again, it was the community showing up and saying, we really believe in you. So ultimately what we landed on was, we loved this idea that we could do a special event. Each home would pick a different nonprofit. We'll design a specialty glass that goes along with the evening. People will be able to get their wine covered, their appetizers covered, learn a little bit about the history of the home, and then walk away with that special commemorative glass that was just designed for that house. So the great thing is that I'm able to share in this is that just the action of that one homeowner, the very next day, someone from across the street stopped in and said, "I heard that you're doing a Gay Fad event at their house. I want to be second." So it really started to snowball in the most astounding way. And for now, I'm happy to say that we actually have special events coming up in October, early December, and New Year's. So it's going to be a really great offering, and it really is tried and true to our mission. We really believe in supporting the community, and we believe that through the vehicle of Gay Fad Studios that we'll be able to do so. So the fact that, in a sense, by the community supporting us, we can support the community. We can find those opportunities to create those special events, to support those nonprofits, to offer the access of glass to where they are ultimately even working with us on custom glassware so that they can sell something that's really special. There's so many different ways that it's coming to life, and we're just really enjoying it a lot.
Well, it's amazing how it is, and we talked with David and with Christa, how it's kind of come full circle. You know, it started out as nothing, it grew, and now you're giving back to the community. Just because of all this, there are other nonprofits that are going to benefit from the success you're having at this moment here. And again, that's your feeling in the community. You and David and Christa, the community has given you so much, you want to do the same.
Yes. And we really see that as an extension of the legacy of Fran Taylor. Because ultimately, for all of us, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her astounding achievements. Just as much so, Donna McGrady, that wrote 2 volumes on Gay Fad Studios. Those books, if we didn't have a documented history, so much of it would be lost. So we really see this kind of cyclical sense of the community supporting us and us supporting the community. All of this wouldn't have happened if there wasn't a sense of a blueprint that was laid for us, that showed us the way, that provided us so many things to respond to and to share as a community today. So we're just really, really thankful for that.
Jason Annecy, thanks for joining us. Thanks for what you did, your part, which is not a small part in all this, but thanks for what you did to kind of get all this going. Thanks to David, who was on here earlier with us, Christa, who joined us, who kind of had the idea to get all this moving. All the parts come together, and it's an amazing story. Thank you for letting us come down here to Gay Fad Studios in Lancaster. It's a great story, and it continues.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jason. Great story, Fran Taylor. Goes back to 1945. It all begins here in Lancaster, Ohio, and here we are, 2022, and it just keeps going. So it's a great story for a town like Lancaster, Ohio, to have this. And for all of you, we want to thank you for joining us. This is Paul Jackson, Fairfield Today. We will see you out there.
Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County Adam H., Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.